The 49ers have run their winning streak to 9 in a row with a tremendous 37-34 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders here on New Year's Day. We're going to get into all of the back and forth fun information from this game next on the post-game edition of the Jack Hammer Show. Hey, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. All the 49ers fans joining tonight here on the Jack Hammer Show, 49ers post-game edition, 37-34 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders out in Vegas on New Year's Day. What a way to start the new year for the 49ers, winning 9 in a row, moving to the number 2 seed in the NFC playoff race. And now the 49ers go into Week 18 with an opportunity to seize home field advantage in the NFC playoffs. A win over Arizona coupled with a loss by Philadelphia at home to the New York Giants next week would give the 49ers a week off to open up the postseason and that number 1 seed home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So things are looking up and up and up for the 49ers, and I want to shout out a few folks over here in the comment section. We have Peter Lee jumping in. He says, let's go Niners. Lucas Pesci says, hey, Jack, exciting game. Defense didn't look good. We're going to get into that one in particular as this show goes on because there definitely was some question marks about the way the defense played today. But there's also some really good things that they did, and I want to make sure that we don't miss those. We have Luke Walsh who says, hello, Mr. Hammer. Hey, Luke, good to have you on board. We have Peter Lee who says defense giving up 500-plus total yards and 34 points should be concerning. It should be concerning, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Savory Movie 197. Hey, Jack, let's go. Let's go. Let's get it. This is a big win for the 49ers. It was a lot of fun. Wasn't in Vegas, but it was a lot of fun to watch this game on TV today. And it was one of those games that sometimes I wish I wasn't covering, so I could have just been having a good time like all of you were, hopefully. During the game, we have KW 24-21. They seem to like making winning really difficult. Hey, games like what we saw today will come in handy when we get into the postseason. We have Black 59 Razor, excuse me. Jack, what do you think of Lenore? We'll get into Lenore. He was definitely having some issues today. Happy New Year to you as well. KW 24-21, Kia 1967. What's up, Jack? What is up? Blaine Mappa says, hello, Happy New Year's. Go Niners. Absolutely. Happy New Year to you as well. Hell of a win, says Kia 1967. And Dollar Bills, we're missing E-Man bad. Defensive line gets smoked, but like Newport's. I don't know if it's the defensive line so much, but, you look at this game today, and I going into it, if you're watching my pregame show, if you're reading my pregame report over at the Press Democrat at 49ers.pressdemocrat.com, you saw a lot of what happened in this game. I mentioned could be a problem for this 49ers defense. You're going up against a Las Vegas Raiders team led by a quarterback that you have not seen before, who had only 61 career attempts before today. You're going up against a Las Vegas team that has one of the best running backs in the league in Josh Jacobs over there. And the question that I had, I think that was really, the only question was, the biggest question I should say was, how does Jarrett Stidham perform? If Jarrett Stidham could be if he was just a guy who could get out there and show that he can get it done, if he was just a decent quarterback, then I said that this game could be problems for the 49ers because of that rushing ability of Josh Jacobs. And you look at this game overall and you look at the way that it played out, and Jarrett Stidham, he carved up this 49ers defense. He's making his first start. He finished 23 of 34, 365. He had 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 picks. And he also had he ran for the ball 7 times for 34 yards. But when you look back at that, neither of the interceptions by Stidham were of his own doing. And they were key to the 49ers victory today. So, and then the other one too that I had as far as my question was, can the 49ers stop Josh Jacobs? So it was, will the defense be prepared for Jarrett Stidham? I said no to that one as far as the response because of the numbers that he put up. The other question that I asked is, can the 49ers stop just Josh Jacobs? And to that question, I said no, except for when it mattered most. And so when you look at the way that this game played out, and I understand the numbers, that were put up. Again, this is going into this thing. You've got Davante Adams, who's shown the ability to beat. Let's rewind that just for a second. And I want to go back to the question on Deommodore Lenoir, because the answer to that question on Deommodore Lenoir was there was definitely some questions there. And DeBuda says, I don't want to hear no slander about my boy Lenoir. I think you gotta have some discussion about what Deommodore Lenoir did today, because it wasn't a good performance by him at all. He struggled. But here's the thing about Lenoir. Got to remember, the 49ers played against Green Bay last year in the regular season at Levi Stadium. Lenoir came into that game late due to some injuries. And what happened at the end of that game? What happened to Deommodore Lenoir against Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams at Levi Stadium in the second half of the game last season? When it mattered, the 49ers were up by, 28-27 at that point. And what happened to Deommodore Lenoir? He gave up a long completion down the middle to basically a blown coverage on his part to Davante Adams. So he came into this game and he got worked again by Davante Adams. Big throw down the right sideline. He also got beat up a little bit by Darren Waller. That's a matchup that isn't going to favor Deommodore Lenoir. He doesn't have the size. And as Mitchell and Ness says here, Deommodore Lenoir is definitely the weakest link in the 49ers defense. We came into today, if you go back to, I don't know if it was last week that I wrote this or if it was the week before, but I said that the 49ers weakness, it came up in a mailbag column, I think that it was that I did, but the 49ers weakness, if there is a weakness about this team, about this defense, it is their secondary. There is some weakness there. The 49ers can only get to the quarterback so many times. And that's really how they live and die on defense, is by getting to the quarterback. And we saw them through most of this game, especially in the first half, get eaten up by Jarrett Stidham because he wasn't getting hit. He wasn't getting pushed around. And when there was pressure on him, the 49ers weren't in position to stop him. And he was able to make big play after big play with his legs, as well as big play after big play with his arm. Josh Jacobs was running the ball really well in the first half. The second half was a different story. They were able to get a little bit more pressure on him. They were able to kind of tie him up. And you look at the way this game played out. And I know that, again, this defense struggled. I get it. But the 49ers do not win this game today if it's not for some of the big plays that the 49ers defense made today. Think about it this way. First half, the Raiders drive down. They get the ball all the way down to the 49ers 2-yard line. It's 4th and inches. The score at this point is 14-10. The Raiders are in position to they decide that they're going to go for it. So if they go for it there and pick up that yard, it's possible that they take a 17-14 lead right there. Maybe they kick a field goal. If they kick a field goal right there, it's 14-13. And then the whole game and the way the game changes after that would change, right? The whole way the game plays out. They go for it. And what happens? Eric Armstead beats the Raiders, his man, gets into the backfield, drops Josh Jacobs for no gain, turnover on downs, 49ers take over, no points for the Raiders. That was a big stop for this 49ers defense in the first half. Yes, they were able to come back and score on their next possession, but again, they had stopped them the possession before. That was a big stop. The 49ers offensive possession that followed that had some issues from Trent Williams, but we can get into that later. Again, this is a team that was defense that struggled but made plays when they needed to. Fast forward to the second half of this game. In the second half, the score was the 49ers were down 24-21. You had Brock Purdy throwing an interception is what happened. And the Raiders are near midfield. Kerry Hyder gets up, gets his hands on the ball from Jarrett Stidham, gets his hands, bats it up into the air. Drake Jackson comes down with it and gives the 49ers the turnover inside Raiders territory. That leads to a field goal to tie the game at 24 just a few plays later. They took over, I think it was at the 41, 42-yard line of the Raiders. They got a couple of runs there. They're able to kick a field goal, and now the game's tied at 24. So this defense that we don't usually see giving up points just made – they made a stop to keep the defense out of the end zone. Now they make a key turnover to make this thing 24-24. Then you get into the second half, and yes, they struggle a little bit on the after the 49ers get the touchdown. There's a long stare where the 49ers defense came up big. They had their first 3 and out. They had their first 3 and out. Then you had, when the score is 24-21, they have a 3 and out. You have the pick by Purdy. Then you have the pick by Drake Jackson. So now the game's tied at 24. The defense comes up again with another stop. And then the 49ers take the lead at 27-24. So they've had 3 stops in a row. Now you have a couple of bad plays. A couple of things go against you. You get a field goal from the Raiders to tie the game at 27. Your offense goes down, takes the lead. Deommodore Lenoir gets beat by Davante Adams on a play in which Lenoir was in pretty good coverage. He was just a little off on that one. His hand was up there at one point, but he falls down, and it's a big gain for Davante Adams. They end up getting into the end zone to tie the game. And then you fast forward to overtime, and in overtime, the 49ers secondary, the 49ers defense makes another big play and wins the game for the 49ers. Not a sack by Nick Bosa, but Nick Bosa takes the left tackle of the Las Vegas Raiders and drives him all the way back into the lap of Jarrett Stidham, and that offensive lineman get into his lap, forces the ball, makes the ball flutter through the air. Tayshaun Gibson is in Johnny on the spot, makes the pick, returns it all the way down to the 7-yard line. They get the ball into the middle of the field, and you get a field goal to win the game. So, yes, giving up 37 points, that's never good, giving up 34 points. You never want to have that. But they made the plays when they needed to make them, and that's what matters. Think of it this way. In 2019, the 49ers went all the way to the Super Bowl. During that run to the Super Bowl, they gave up 46 points on the road in a big game, very similar to this, where they're fighting for playoff seeding late in the season, and they allow the New Orleans Saints. I understand it's totally different going up against Drew Brees compared to Jarrett Stidham, but they allowed their opponent to put up 46 points on them. They went to the Super Bowl that year. You're going to have games like this. This was one of those games going into it. Like I said, Jarrett Stidham scared me a little bit. And the reason he scared me wasn't because I thought he was great or anything like that. But when you go into games like this, think about from your own vantage point, 49ers fans. When Brock Purdy went out and tore it up against Miami, what was the first thing you said? Well, let's see if he can do it again next week, because nobody knew what to do with him. There was no film on him. There was no understanding of what he could do. Wait until next week. Well, it's the same thing here, except for it's with Jarrett Stidham. There's no film on him, and he was able to go out and make plays. He was able to do things because the 49ers weren't fully prepared. I don't think they were on their game as best as they could be. But they also have a couple of really good playmakers in Darren Waller, one of the best receiving tight ends in the game. And I don't think there's anybody on this stream that would argue how good Davante Adams is. Davante Adams is probably one of the best quarterback wide receivers in the NFL. Was texting with one of my Raider fan friends after the game, and I made the comment to him that I think that this game isn't as close as it is if Derek Carr was in the game. You don't have the mobility at the quarterback position with Derek Carr in the game. I don't think you have a guy that's playing quite as free if it's Derek Carr. Again, this is the 49ers going up against a guy who they hadn't seen before, struggled a little bit. And the biggest thing at the end of the day that matters from this game is they won. Like Blank says right here, the 49ers gave up over 500 yards of total offense. They gave up 34 points. They had 8 penalties, but they still won the game. The 49ers right now are a game out of hosting becoming the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. You're going to go through games like tonight where you struggle and you don't make all the plays that you normally do and you screw up. And it's better for the 49ers to have this game now than it is for it to occur in 2 weeks. This is a good wake-up call for this team. They are a very strong team. They also, don't forget, played in the second half without Dre Greenlaw for a great deal of that second half after he got hit by his own guy and Fred Warner. This was a good game for them. And think about it also. Think about it this way. Fred Warner didn't have the best game of his season today. You look at that game, and on the drive that ended up resulting in a touchdown, I'm not sure. I think it might have been the one. I'm not sure exactly at which point in the game this was. It might have been but you had the Raiders backed up, and it was third down, and it's bringing out to the right side. I think it was right at the beginning of the game. That's where it was. It was right in the beginning of the second half. The touchdown that made it 24-14. You had them backed up. You had it 3rd and 11. You have a screen pass out to Hunter Renfrow for a gain of 4, but you get a face mask penalty from Fred Warner that allows that drive to continue. They're not able to shut it down, and the Raiders score. A little bit later in the game, towards the end, it was the last scoring drive. You have Fred Warner getting called for pass interference in the end zone, which leads to the touchdown run for Josh Jacobs. So you had some of your better players not play very well. But I think that we'd all agree that when it comes to Fred Warner, he's going to have more positive games than negative games. And, again, coming into this game, what do we know about the 49ers defense? We know that this is a 49ers defense that thrives on the pass rush. They thrive on that ability to get to the quarterback. They thrive on the ability to put the quarterback on the ground. If they can't put the quarterback on the ground, they're going to struggle because they aren't very good on the back end. Told you guys before the game, one of the things that I mentioned in my pregame write-up is how good this Las Vegas Raiders offensive line is. They're one of the better groups in terms of protecting the quarterback and not allowing sacks. That's what happened today. With the Raiders didn't give up sacks. You had a quarterback who had some mobility that the normal starting quarterback wouldn't have, and you saw them go out and make some plays and take it to the 49ers a bit. And I think when you get into it, and if it's the 49ers against, say, Dak Prescott, I think you go into that a little bit different because you know what Dak Prescott can do. You know that he's the guy that's going to be able to move around on you and make plays that are going to hurt you with his legs. You don't quite know that about Jarrett Stidham coming into this game. So a lot of different things there. So as far as this game goes, when it comes to, is this a sign of things to come for the 49ers? I don't really think so. I don't. I think this is a situation in which they're going to be fine moving forward as we go into this thing. As far as this game goes, one of my takeaways from it was the play of Brock Purdy. My question prior to the game was, will Brock Purdy keep rolling? And the answer to that is yeah, absolutely. He just continues to answer the bell week in and week out. He opened the game with a couple of touchdown passes on the first 2 possessions. That makes him the first quarterback since 2001. Jeff Garcia in 2001 threw at least 2 touchdown passes 5 weeks in a row. That is what Brock Purdy has now done. 5 weeks in a row, he took over against Miami, and in 5 games since taking over the quarterback position, he has thrown at least 2 touchdown passes every game. And he continues to demonstrate the ability to overcome adversity. Against Miami, we saw him dealing with a lot of pressure and being able to make plays. Today, we've got the answer that a lot of other people have been saying. How is Brock Purdy going to perform when he's behind? How is he going to perform when the chips are down? Well, he's down by 10 in the second half. He wasn't very strong in the first half. I know he had a couple of touchdowns. He was 7 of 10 for 36 yards, I believe it was, in total in the first half. His longest completion in the first half was 9 yards. He comes out in the second half. He goes 15 of 25 for 246 yards and leads the 49ers to 23 points after the halftime break. I think, for me, there were a number of really nice throws by Brock Purdy in the second half. But for me, I feel like his biggest throw of the second half came on what was really, I think, probably his shortest. Might have even been his shortest throw of the game. It was uh, it was the completion to Christian McCaffrey for 38 yards. Game is tied at 27. The Raiders send blitz. He throws it away. The next play, they blitz him again, and this time the linebackers, the blitzer is right on him, and he's able to flip the ball, get the ball out of his hand over to Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey then does what he does, shows why he is so good, and he makes a 38-yard gain off of that screen. The 49ers then scored 2 plays later on the run from Jordan Mason from 14 yards out, and they were up 34-27. But that little screen, again, it's not the big things. We tend to look at quarterbacks and we say, does he have the arm to get the ball down the field? Does he have the arm to make that out throw? Can he throw that 20-yard out? Can he make that throw? Can he make that throw falling back? 90%, probably 95% of the important throws from a quarterback are the basic throws. The ability to get the ball out of your hands on time to a receiver over the middle. The ability to hit that guy on the slant. That ability when there's an unblocked defender coming at you on a screen to be able to turn and drop it off to your running back and let him go do what he's supposed to do. So that's a big-time throw that doesn't show up on your garbage PFF big-time throw stats. Sorry, PFF. But that's the direction there that I'm going with it is, he just makes throws, he makes plays, and it's positive for the 49ers. Kia wants to know what was really missing. What was really missing was our defensive line putting that onslaught pressure on the opposing quarterback tonight. Absolutely, that's what I just said a few minutes ago. But part of that is because the Las Vegas Raiders are one of the better pass protecting teams in the league. So you don't get great pass protection. What happens when you're not getting to the quarterback because you're getting stopped? You start to get your hands up. That's your job. When you're not able to when you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, especially as a defensive tackle, your job is to get your hands up and get in the throwing lane. And that's what happened with Kerry Hyder. Wasn't getting pressure, got his hands up, hit the ball, goes up in the air. Drake Jackson makes a really nice grab for the interception, and that leads to some points from the 49ers. You're not getting a sack on the quarterback as Nick Bosa, who came into this game with a possibility of two sacks behind Aldon Smith for the most in 49ers history. He comes into this game, doesn't get a sack, but what he does do is he gets 5 hits on the quarterback tonight. Nick Bosa with 5 hits on Jarrett Stidham, and although it's not a sack, taking Colton Miller, walking him back into the lap of Jarrett Stidham, won the game for the 49ers tonight. His ability to push that guy back, wreck the play, the ball's floating through the air. You get the pick from Tayshaun Gibson, runs it all the way back. So really nice play there for the 49ers, right? So that kind of speaks to all that. Now going back to the game, I was kind of on a roll there with Brock Purdy, but I thought he played really well. And then my other question that I asked on the offense, I only asked a couple of questions on the offense coming to this game, is can the 49ers run game stay hot? And that was, yeah, absolutely. And you saw that right off the bat. Now you got to remember, the Raiders were playing without Denzel Perryman. They're starting middle linebacker. They're playing without Chandler Jones, who's their best pass rusher. So that's going to help the 49ers offense out a little bit here as well. But you get 121 yards rushing from Christian McCaffrey. He had one big gain early on that led to a touchdown on the first possession, the touchdown throw to Brandon Ayuk. But he finishes this thing with 121 yards rushing on 19 carries. 121 yards on 19 carries from Christian McCaffrey, including a touchdown today. The 49ers as a whole ran the ball 100 for only 27 times. But they got 170 yards rushing, 170 yards, only 27 attempts. It was about 6.5 yards per rushing attempt today for the 49ers, who have now gone over 5.5 yards in back-to-back weeks in terms of their rushing. Last week it was helped out by the one big run from Ray-Ray McLeod for 71 yards. Tonight it was a little bit of everybody. Christian McCaffrey with a big run. Jordan Mason coming off the bench. He got stopped for no gain, for a loss of 1 on his first carry. Comes back after that little screen pass throw that I was talking about that went for 38 yards that I thought was so nice by Brock Purdy. And Jordan Mason comes into the game, relieves McCaffrey, who was tired at the end of that because he broke several tackles. And Mason goes around the left side and runs defenders over to get into the end zone from 14 yards out to put the 49ers up 34-27. That was his first regular season score of the game. And then in addition to that, you had – it wouldn't be a 49ers game if you didn't have the wide receivers get a couple of some big plays on the ground either. Brandon Ayuk with a 16-yard run that set up McCaffrey's touchdown score on the ground in the third quarter. And then you had Danny Gray. We actually got to see the ball in Danny Gray's hand during in a game that wasn't a blowout, and he takes a fly sweep around the right side for 9 yards in the second half, and that came after the interception from Drake Jackson. That was actually, I think, the first play after the Drake Jackson interception. So the 49ers are running the ball really well. The 49ers passing game is working. Look at the connection today between Brandon Ayuk and Brock Purdy. At the end of regulation, it was just the two of them. They worked back and forth. Purdy completed all 4 of those attempts there at the end of regulation on the down in the field goal position. 4 of those passes going to Brandon Ayuk, 12 yards, 18 yards, 11 yards, 11 yards. There was one throw over the middle that was incomplete, but he also had a drop from Christian McCaffrey. They just moved the ball down the field, and Brandon Ayuk finishes the day with 101 yards receiving on 9 catches. He was targeted 12 times. His longest was 23. He had the one touchdown early in the game. Christian McCaffrey, for his efforts today, he was at 193 total yards from scrimmage today. He touched the ball 25 times. Like I said, it was 6 rushes, 19 carries, 6 receptions, and a touchdown. So really good stuff there from Christian McCaffrey as well. So I look at this with the 49ers. I get it. You never want to see your team go out and give up the amount of points they did today. But I felt like they played really well. A couple guys got a shout out really here. We got Maximiliano. Thank you very much for becoming a member of the Toolbox. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for your support. We have Sean9519 says, Jack, who cares who we play? 49ers versus 49ers. That's it. No one else matters, bro. Raiders played out of their skull on to Arizona. Then let's go. And I agree. I think the 49ers, the only team that is going to beat the 49ers is the 49ers themselves. If they play up to their potential, if they play as good as they can, they are not going to lose this season. They are going to get to the Super Bowl. Then it's going to be a slugfest because this defense has shown the ability to step up against everybody. They've shown the ability to make plays. They've also shown the ability to give up plays, but more times than not, they've made plays. And I look at this and I'm saying 49ers over Arizona. I think it's very easy to make the case for the New York Giants to beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, especially if Jalen Hurts is still not able to go. I know he's getting closer, but even coming off of injury, is he going to be able to keep up with the Giants? The Giants are an interesting team in their own right. They're very good at getting after the quarterback, and I think that would be an interesting game to watch. Is the Giants versus the Eagles next week. And I would expect, because the NFL did not set the start times for any of their games for next week, I would expect that the 49ers will not know what is going on with the Philadelphia Eagles. Most likely we're going to see the Philadelphia Eagles against the New York Giants. I would expect to see that game moved into the Sunday evening prime time slot. That would be my guess. And we'll see how that goes. I think you'll see the 49ers and the Vikings playing at the same time, and then you'll see the Eagles and the Giants, because the New York market against Philadelphia, those are 2 huge markets. Get those on prime time, and I think that's a ratings bonanza for them. Niner Gang Wolfcast wants to know thoughts on Jimmy Ward and Gibson being the safety tandem moving forward. I don't have a problem with it. I know that actually, step that back. Let's roll that bad boy back. No, you need to keep Jimmy Ward in the slot. You don't have a guy that can play in the slot. Your slot corner is playing on the outside in Diamond Lenore. You don't have a guy that can play in the slot. Jimmy Ward stays in the slot. Tayshaun Gibson stays in the back. You have Talon Hufanga in there as well. I know Hufanga gave up a touchdown tonight, and everybody's screaming and hooting and hollering about him. But Talon Hufanga has been a very strong safety for you throughout this season. Give him time. He made a big miss early on in the game. He played well after that. So it's Jimmy Ward At nickel, Tayshaun Gibson at free safety, Talanoa Hufanga back there with them. I believe the interception today from Gibson gives the 49er safety tandem of Hufanga and Gibson 7 interceptions on the season this year. The number sounds right to me, but I'm pretty sure that they tied Eric Reed and somebody else. I don't remember who the other safety was with them. I'd look it up. But the 2014 49ers, their safety tandem on the back end, I think they were either at 7 or 8. And I think the 49ers today with their interceptions tied that as well. Putting Jackrabbit Jenkins on the field and move Lenoir back to the slot, you can maybe do that, but I don't know if that's the direction to go. Like I said in the beginning of this, Devontae Adams against Deommodore Lenoir, that's a mismatch. We've seen Devontae Adams beat Deommodore Lenoir in the past. So the fact that Deommodore Lenoir struggled with Devontae Adams tonight shouldn't surprise us. Lucas, good to have you on board. Like the fact that you're still watching me, or it's probably late back there, and it's after midnight. I bet. CMC's workload is crazy. 25 touches. That's about what a running back usually gets in the NFL, especially when in games that really matter, and they're in that stretch. We saw him with, I think, around 30 against Seattle, and the number has really backed off in the Seattle game. His usage has kind of gone up and down. So today his workload was a little bit more, but it'll go back down next week if they don't need him to. So yeah, this is a big one for the 49ers. Big victory tonight, getting the victory, going up. Number 2 seed in the NFC, chance to be the number 1 seed, steal home field advantage. If the 49ers can get home field advantage, that would be huge. Got another super chat from Sean. I want to hit that one up really quick. He says, Jack, the Niners, unlike any other team, we can play anywhere, but Jimmy Ward better wake the F up. He's not good. Huff gets burned 2 times a game. Wake up. But Purdy is ironclad. Front 4 needs to ball. The front 4 definitely needs the ball. Jimmy Ward is a guy who is really good. He really helps his 49ers defense out with what he can do against the run. He's okay against the pass. His passer rating allowed is lower because of the 3 picks that he's had since he came back. But those 3 picks are the result of what you just said right here, is that front 4 putting pressure on quarterbacks. Eric Armstead. Pressure from Eric Armstead directly has led to at least 2 of Jimmy Ward's 3 interceptions. It all plays hand in hand. And you're right. Hufanga's going to get beat a couple of times. Jimmy Ward's going to get beat a couple of times. The key is to try to not let those times when you get beat be behind you. It's okay. I think this team, as you said earlier, this team is basically playing against themselves. If they can just go out there and continue to execute at a high level, they're going to be fine. And I'm really, what Brock Purdy did tonight, good stuff right there, right? Good game. Struggled on offense in the first half. They moved the ball. They didn't really have the ball that much, but his numbers weren't all that. Had a much better second half. Very positive there. So there you have it. The 49ers 37-34 over the Las Vegas Raiders out in Vegas on New Year's Day. Now, it all comes down to week 18, and I cannot wait to get there. This is so much fun to watch this team play. It's so much fun to cover this team and be able to talk with all of you. We're going to get into all kinds of information with the 49ers as we go forward this week. So make sure you keep it locked in here to the channel. But as I said, 49ers 34-37 over the Las Vegas Raiders today in Vegas. The 49ers, the number 2 seed, would be at home for at least the first round and the second round as it stands now. If they can win on Sunday against the Cardinals and the New York Giants win in Philadelphia, the 49ers would get a week off, and they would be the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs heading in there, which would be huge. So hold on. Sean 9519ers wants to know if he can come on live. I think he wants to yell some things at me. Sure. Let me give me a minute. It's going to take me vamping a little bit to see how I can figure out how to get there. But I might be able to allow you to come on and yell at me really quick. Get a little bit of extra yelling going on this show. Let me pull it up. Invite guests. Getting it. There we go. And All right, I'm going to put it in the comment section. I'm going to get Sean 951 Niners on the show here. Let him fire away, and then we're going to wrap this bad boy up. So there it is, Sean. It is in the comment section. You can go ahead and pull it up, and I will. I'll be more than happy to take your call tonight. Big win for the 49ers. A lot of passion from you. A lot of times, I really appreciate that. So let's go ahead and we'll do that. And I agree with Black 59 Razor. My girlfriend has told me that dinner's ready, so I want to go eat. So I'm gonna let Sean on here to talk some 49ers if he joins pretty soon. But it better be good. I'm gonna, as Jim Rome used to say. I don't know if Jim Rome says this anymore, but if you got a take, you got to bring it hard. Have a take, don't suck. And that's what I'm asking for Sean 951 Niners. If he shows up, maybe I lost him. I don't know. Maybe it's taken a little while to come through on your end. But again, big win for the 49ers today. Brock Purdy answering the bell, continues to do what he needs to do. Hey, real quick, while we're at this, how about the genius of Mike McDaniel? Mike McDaniel, he's a genius. Remember? Mike McDaniel was the missing ingredient for this 49ers team in the first half of the season. Look at what he's doing out in Miami. Look at what Mike McDaniel's doing out of Miami. He is the missing ingredient. Guess what? The Miami Dolphins last year with Brian Flores, they were 9-8. Guess what? Mike McDaniel, there's no chance for Mike McDaniel to beat 9-8 this year because he lost again. He's 500. He's 8-8. Done. All right, so we got Sean 951 Niners. He's over here. Let me pull him in. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You got me?
Let's go. Let's go. Let me hear it. As I said, have a take. Don't suck.
Hey.
And this thing's wrong for me.
Jack, number one, I don't have a take. I'll never suck for you, but I got respect for you. Let me give you your flowers. Hey, you know what? Hey, all the Niner faithful that is in the chat normally, I'm telling you now, like straight up, I got nothing but respect for you, bud. I appreciate you. Everything you've done, whether it was with Grant or anybody else, like trust me, man. All respect, nothing negative. There's nothing. Don't get jitters like, oh damn, Sean 951's a terror. I don't know what to think. I'm good. All right, go ahead. No, hey, I wanted to jump on, not for a take, Jack. Hey, I've listened to you forever, but so listening to your cast tonight, my thing is this, like for most of the chatters, like my thing is like, what did you take from tonight? Did you take from we won or the Raiders lost?
The 49ers won. The 49ers took this game.
And explain why the 49ers won versus the Raiders lost. Because keep in mind, you and I mean, I've followed you for a long time, so I know your takes and why you take them. There were some crazy obscenities in this game in the terms of Warner's face mask. First of all, Hufanga shouldn't even be a Pro Bowler. I'm sorry, man. I'm a 49er fan. He blows a touchdown every game for the last 5 games. But outside of that, like, I don't know, man. I'm a little nervous, man. Like, to me, I thought we lost the game as soon as that field goal was missed by Gold. I thought we lost.
Yeah, but then what happened on the next possession? The 49ers defense made the play, right? And so that's why I say the 49ers won this game, because they gave up a number of big plays. But when you stuff a guy at the 1 yard, at the 2 yard line like they did to keep points off the board, that's big. When you get the interception that they got from Drake Jackson, which leads to points, tie the game, that's big. You give up the touchdown to let this thing be tied. Your field goal kicker goes out and blows it. Now you're on the field, and what do? The fourth play in the overtime, Nick Bosa makes the play. Tayshaun Gibson on the back end makes the play, and it's ball game. I said to my girlfriend, we're sitting there watching the game, She usually doesn't watch the game with me. She doesn't like watching it. I'm not a very good person to watch the game with. I'm too intense watching it. I don't yell and scream, but I'm pretty focused on what's going on. So I'm not that fun to watch the game with. But she was watching it with me. And when this game went to overtime, I said, watch, the 49ers defense is going to do something here, and they're going to win the game. And you had Bosa make the play. Gibson makes the play. And, they set it up. An easy field goal for gold, and the 49ers win.
Yeah, but Jack, how did you feel after the first quarter? Be honest, though. Remember, you can no hindsight here. How did you feel?
I was nervous throughout this game. I was nervous throughout. I was nervous because all the things that I wrote in the pregame blog about how the 49ers, what they have to do, which is generally kind of how they're going to lose. If these things happen, the 49ers are going to lose. That's generally what my pregame blog is kind of about when it comes to what the defense is doing. We're all happening. The quarterback was showing that he can make the plays. The running game was working for the Raiders. Everything was going against the 49ers. Yet they were able to just continue to make plays to keep themselves in it. They get up there, up 14-10. It just all kind of worked together, and one thing led to another. And second half, they were able to play much better on defense. There was that 3-possession stretch where they stopped the Raiders, and that's where the game turned for the most part, in my opinion.
Jack, you're not wrong. You're 100% right in regard to the narration of what happened. But I'll tell you what, though. If I was any other team in the playoffs right now in the NFC, and the Chiefs don't care because they already saw this live in front of their face, when we overcommit, when we overcommit, we're in trouble. You can tell. I mean, literally, when we overcommit to what we're doing on defense, we're in trouble. Like, literally, like when someone goes, hey, you know what? It's screen, this and that. Literally, our whole defense commits to one side. Next thing you know, bam, you're 40 yards. And I'll tell you what right now, no joke. Like I said this earlier, Hufanga to me, 49er fans may not like this. He's not a Pro Bowler to me. Because if you look at the number one blown coverage individual on our team through 16 games is Hufanga. It's not Ward. It's not the other Ward. It's not even Demore. It's not even Lenore. It's none of them. It's Hufanga. He is the one guy, literally, even since our winning streak started, he's the guy. And it always happens in the first quarter, too. It never happens in the second quarter, but it happens in the first quarter. And I don't know I don't know if it's game planning. I don't know what it is for D'Amico or what it is, but and don't get me wrong, we haven't lost, so I'm not hating. We haven't lost, so I'm not hating.
It's okay.
But literally, I don't understand it. Help me out, Jack. Do you see something on tape that I'm not seeing, sir?
No, I agree with you. The 49ers defense, they have moments where they struggle, especially in the first half of games. There's a lot of truth to everything. I mean, you look at this 49ers team, and if you're an opponent that can run the ball and you can commit to running the ball, and you have a quarterback that can make some throws for you, and you can stay out of third and long, especially, you can have success against this team. The 49ers are a weak team against the screen. So what did we see today in the first half? We saw the Raiders screening the 49ers and making some big plays early on. Their secondary is going to get beat. And unless you have an offensive line that can protect your quarterback, or a quarterback who can run around and make plays, you're going to get beat by this defense. And there's not very many guys in the NFC that can do that. I don't think there's really anybody in the NFC that can do it other than maybe Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. Beyond that, I don't know if there's a quarterback that can run around enough to make the plays that they need to make. And I don't know how many teams have a guy like Devontae Adams either. I think that's the other piece. You have Devontae Adams and Darren Waller and the running game. Those three things all together give the 49ers trouble. That guy that can stretch it, and that number one type of receiver, that really good tight end that can give your underneath coverage fits, and then that running game where you become susceptible to play action, that gives the 49ers fits. It gives a lot of team fits. It's not just the 49ers. But it gives them trouble. And let's just wait and see how it comes up. I've got to run, but I appreciate you wanting to come on. Let's do this again, because I enjoy talking. Maybe what we can do is maybe I can get you even on a roundtable, and we can do a fan roundtable at some point before the playoffs. How's that sound?
No, hey, without a doubt, hey, this is your channel. Like, I'll never be able to speak on that. But let me just say one thing, just one thing. I know you're 45 minutes in. I'm looking on this live. Let me just say this, though. Devontae Adams was also with Aaron Rodgers every single time we beat his ass in the playoffs. Now, last year didn't count because our special teams won. But at the end of the day, like, to me, more than anything, I think that where our team struggles is when we believe and actually like suck in the fact that we're more dominant on the defensive end than our team. That's when we give up first half big possessions. Just but I know we got to go. But I'm just saying that's where I think we have our first half possessions get elongated and force us into those goal line possessions when they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't think you're completely wrong. So I really like it, and thanks for joining. And I'm gonna real quick. I'm gonna just leave you on here while I close this thing. I'm gonna say thanks to everybody who took the time to join. If you guys can do me a favor, if you're watching this and you're already subscribed to that channel, hit that subscribe button so you can become a subscriber to the channel. Would appreciate to have you on board. Also, hit that little bell notification so you know every time we go live. And then the second piece of this, and maybe even more important, is hit that like button, because the more likes that these programs get, the more people it gets pushed out for people to take a look at as a suggestion. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will be back tomorrow with Rob for the 49ers Hammerhead show. So take care, everybody. Thank you, Sean, and talk to you all soon. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Happy New Year, too, to all you filthy animals.